It is a Monday night, and we are live right here on the Ryer on YouTube channel. Time to talk some golf. Travis Ryer alongside my great friend Casey Smith. We've got no shortage of golf topics now. We are really, really into the thick of things, especially when you look at all the different tours out there. But Casey, as I bring you on here this evening, I was wondering, have you played any golf lately, Casey?
I was supposed to have played 2 rounds that have been iced out. And then I looked at the 10-day and we have some really good weather tomorrow, which doesn't really line up to Tuesday. And then I see next week we have 70s. So hopefully I've played some simulator golf, but that's just not the same. How about
Yeah,
you?
just that little bit of a difference in Atlanta and Northeast Florida from a weather perspective, because we even by the standards of here, in terms of cold weather, we got hammered pretty good too, with some extended days of freezing temperatures, but we would still climb up into the 50-degree range. So if you were really hardy and wanted to get out, you could. But I understand really across the Southeast, man, it's been a
I would
stretch.
guess, I mean, you asking that brings back, I've had 5 of my last 6 rounds canceled, which is, I mean,
Wow.
I'll get out there and play in it, but it's been brutal around here. And then timely of weekend and Friday you might sneak out and then it just be a mess. So I just always feel like around here, your area, I feel like you get you can get some really great weather right now.
Hmm.
Catch some great weather, but January, February for us are pretty much bonus months. Anything you get those months are bonus months, and then it really kicks up March.
Yeah, I got out yesterday, went up to the Amelia Island, Fernandina Beach area. Beautiful day. Got up into the mid 60s. It was even better today. Didn't get out. But yeah, I know a buddy of mine that lives up in the Atlanta area. He does some of the part-time ranger stuff. So he gets the free golf. That's always a good deal.
It's a great
Um,
deal.
and he said the weather was better, I guess, yesterday, because it felt like
It's
people were
it's
really
turning.
trying to get out. Yeah.
It's turning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what's not turning is Chris Gotterup and winning golf tournaments. That's not turning around and heading the other direction. It doesn't feel like anyway. Casey is the former Oklahoma star by way of Rutgers, right? He was at Rutgers,
There's Rutgers from New
transferred to
Jersey.
Oklahoma, won the Haskins Award at Oklahoma, and here he is now just on an absolute heat.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's his fourth win. I think it's 72 events. It's his second win of the young season. Birdied his last 5 of his last 6 holes and the playoff. And just to what you said, I mean, he started his freshman year at Rutgers with a 74 stroke average. And then not that that's terrible scores, but that's not going to play at Alabama as a freshman right now, just for anyone that's listening. And then transferred. He was one of the first people that transferred, had the 5th year transfer. So you got the extra year. Went to Oklahoma. They won a national title. He won the Haskins. He gets out on tour and end of 23, start of 24, and he's won. I mean, really should have had if they would have had the status the way that they're doing it now with the PGA Tour U, they would have gotten him out there much quicker. I would say he's just a guy's guy. I mean, I've heard some stories about actually coming to like where you live. They took the Rutgers team down there every winter to start the year. They had some Rutgers alum that would put them up, and they could do learning remote. And he said, I've done listen to this thing recently. Like Gotterup said, I literally hadn't touched a club all since the last event. I needed a break. It's sort of how I did it. Got down there, and he said, I shot 100, and this is in college in the
Yeah.
90s. He was like, first couple rounds out, and they're all laughing, and then it would just get in shape from there, and that was sort of his routine. And then he got to Oklahoma. He said, I learned a little bit more about being a professional for getting ready for golf. Um, and I look, he was 0.7%. His win probability was 0.07% when he's teeing off on the 72nd hole yesterday.
So you're telling me there's a chance
Yeah, and
that
so
type of
First event, his girlfriend's in the field, and he goes on to win. But what don't miss is that opening round 63, bogey
Right.
free with an eagle, follows it with a 71 and an eagle, which is really tough to do out there for him. 70 and then a 64. And I don't see, I mean, he's the fifth ranked player in the world. Where does this go for him? He would have to be a top 10 favorite, I would think. I didn't get to 10th on the upcoming Masters thing. I should have looked further than the top five. I would think he's in that mix. And I mean, look, he's cemented himself on this President's Cup team for this
Yeah,
year.
absolutely. And you look at it, maybe it's the apparel deal with Nike, but I see this like love child of Patrick Reed and Brooks Koepka. It's like morphed those two kind of guys together. And as you said, been an amazing path for him, going from New Jersey to Norman and now to the brightest lights and the biggest tour, obviously, in all of professional golf. What were your thoughts on how that transpired yesterday, especially down the stretch? Hey, we all love what the Waste Management has become in terms of a spectacle with the 16th and the Coliseum and the massive crowds and the rambunctious behavior. But boy, tough to see the situation unfold like it did, with the crowd becoming too much of a part of the storyline. That's that fine line, right? We like it to an extent, but then when it crosses over and perhaps impacts the actual competition, not so good.
Yeah, I mean, they took it to the extreme in 2024 at the Waste Management. It really got to the extreme line. They brought it back in last year a little bit. And some of that I think really had to do too with, hey, it's a Ryder Cup year. We just saw this chaos and we're already promoting that. And I think they probably are all going, hey, that's the event that could really get out of hand. And it got a little out of hand too.
Yeah.
And then here we are. But I mean, these guys know that they're signing what they're signing up for this week. Comes with the
Mhm.
territory. I hate that golfers like I don't mind sound. Golfers just want constant sound. They don't want quiet, and they get everyone quiet, and then somebody yells, and
Yeah,
then
it's
we've
like
seen
like the DJ at the live events. It's okay because it's constant, right?
it's just constant. And Hideki Matsuyama had, a couple of shots where you saw him noticeably back off. It
Mhm.
affected him, I think, for sure. Um, but it's sort of like I'm sure they all at some point during the week when he probably finished recognized that happened to every single person in the field at some point last week or this
Yeah.
past week. But it happened to him like in the timeliest time, the worst time of all times. And then I think Hideki probably would love to have had that putt, the chance to make that putt because he just had that putt. But
Mhm.
Gotterup makes the putt and doesn't give him a chance.
I was glad Gotterup won it with a birdie, right?
Yeah,
And it didn't come down to, you know, the the back off on the first playoff tee box. And look, Hideki didn't drive the ball well enough all week, though, either. I mean, a couple things can be true here. It can be problematic if crowds or even staff of events, we've seen that. It's not always just patrons or fans. There are volunteers out there that, God bless
acting a
them,
fool.
they're volunteering, they're giving their time. I get it, but they don't even really have a concept of where to be, when to be there, when to talk, when to be quiet. So there's a lot of moving pieces at a golf tournament with a fan turnout, um, of that size. It's a shame for not only Hideki, but also Chris Gotterup, because he doesn't want to win that way. I mean, don't get me wrong, the 1.8, you take it how you can get it. But he's good enough that he doesn't need that. And so, we go back to the Ryder Cup all these years ago when it really became a thing on the first tee, right? To get the crowd amped up, to get them going. And I think that's had something to do with it too. But even if you go back to, I recall, because of the proximity of the situation, Jeff Sluman right here at the Players in 1987. I'm an old head now. And you had the kid from Florida State jump in the pond at 17 right before he stroked a 5-footer to win in a playoff. So it's not something that's just exclusive to the last 5, 10 years. And not to totally throw the WM under the bus. It's something that we've seen. It just seems like we're experiencing it more and more, but there's more and more exposure that we have to events and tournaments too.
Yeah, I think they're going to need to do something. I mean, Augusta's the extreme, and it makes sense to where you don't hear any of that over there. You're out, and if they need to get probably a little bit more volunteers and patrol some of the areas of that. I mean, they've gone from the 16th hole being the zoo to now it's stretched out. I also think the biggest triple bogey ever is to not have the playoff start on 16 and play your way in. I mean, you
How do you not use 16 in a playoff,
and
right?
really, I mean, honestly, I used to think 16, 17, 18. I really think they should just play 16 until if you're gonna
That's what it's set up for.
then you have constant yelling and chaos. That would turn into one of the coolest endings ever, because that event has ended in the playoff a lot. And 18, Hideki made it look bad, but 18 is really not that
And we
difficult
talked
of a
about this
hole.
last week. 17's the best hole of the three, especially in a playoff with the risk reward there too, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if Hideki Matsuyama I'm sure he felt that on that drive on 18, but he may not have. I mean, on the playoff or in regulation, the drive he hit. I mean, he hit it in a terrible place. He drove the ball horribly. That's why I sort of hate to take anything away from Gotterup just because he went and
Yeah.
won the tournament, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he literally birdied 6 out of the last 7 holes that he played. Um, and
He
Hideki
closed.
Matsuyama, it
Yeah.
hurts me because I had picked him and I was, one of 5 out of 200. It was looking like a good thing. And look, they almost got backdoored by I mean, the
Scottie.
boogeyman was coming. He ran out of holes.
And opening round 73 for Scottie?
I
And
was,
wow, he
yeah.
might not make the cut. And then, of course, he just does what
Well,
Scottie always does.
I'll watch his post round pressers to get a feel for where you can always tell he's straight up. You can tell when he's frustrated. He doesn't want to do the media. He wants to go to the range. I'm disappointed in himself, frustrated, didn't hit it good, yada yada. And then as the week went on, after the second round, you could tell that he was like, and he said, "I've never hit this many balls in a week, in a tournament week, in a non-major tournament week ever this early. I have dug it out of the dirt," basically is what he's saying. After that 65, I'm feeling good. After that 67, the third round, he acted the same way. He said, "I really feel great. Like I feel
Mhm.
great." And then 64 is looming. I texted a couple of buddies. I'm like, "Man, I feel like he's going to shoot 64. 63 is hard. What's going to happen from there?" 64 bogey free. He goes into this week, hadn't won there, but that'd be hard to think that he's not the favorite because he was coming. He really did just run out of holes. I mean, if he shoots 73 is terrible for him. It'd be great for anyone else, but it's terrible for him. So he's in a playoff and he knows that if he shoots the score he can. But I mean, my thoughts on him today, he's still plus 300 to win the Masters today. He's plus 300 to win this week. Like this,
It's hard not to put $20 down on him at plus 300.
I mean, he was
You
plus 200 this past week, which is
Well,
crazy.
it's
But
hard not to put a grand down on him at plus
I mean,
300.
at this rate, he wins one out of every 4 events. I think definitely the play is if you can get him in any of the top 5 to 10 pools, it's probably even money. But I mean, how would you not? He's not going to finish outside the top 10.
At least, yeah, you're going to get bang for your buck for all 4 days. He may not win, you may not cash, but Sunday you're going to be right there in the mix coming down the home stretch.
That's right. Every time with him, he's the closest thing I think we've seen to the 2006 era Tiger Woods,
Mhm.
and I don't see any slowing down. Um, I mean, he's just ho hum, and I think hates to lose more than he likes to win
Mhm.
is the thing. The wins don't seem to change him, and it's cool to see how he reacts after the wins, but it makes you think that he really hates to lose.
Speaking of Scottie, first signature event of the season coming up this week. Casey out at Pebble Beach, the AT&T Pro-Am. Limited field, no cut. It's one of those signature events. I got to think pretty psyched about seeing these two kind of get into the ring with each other.
Yeah, Rory McIlroy's in the field to defend his title. I've played both of these courses a few times. Yeah, and they in years past at Pebble Beach, they've are in the AT&T Pro Am. They've had three courses. Monterey Peninsula Country Club was the third. Now that it's a signature event, they only need two, so they've cut it down to Pebble and Spyglass. They'll play one of each the first two rounds, and then you play Pebble the last two rounds. Smallest greens on tour by far, and one of the shortest golf courses, even though it doesn't play that short. I mean, it's not ferociously long, but the ball flies shorter there than any other place outside of Sea Island on
Wow.
tour. And
Wow.
Sea Island's it's heavy air, right? I mean,
Heavy.
both places heavy air, ball flies shorter.
That's what I
Rory,
blame it on when I go up to Sea Island. When I was up there a couple weekends ago, I just blamed it on that heavy damn air, at St. Simon's. That's what I keep going with.
but it tells you Rory's the defending champion, but he's plus 1,300. Scottie at plus 300. Hovland, Fleetwood, Rose plus 2,500. I think those two are obviously your betting favorites. Um, I wouldn't lose sight of Justin Rose. It's one of those, seems like he's played well. He was on POA and Farmers. He's had
Hmm.
three top 11 finishes at Pebble. That's a surface to me that you either really love it to putt on or you really don't. Ball just doesn't break. It takes me back to playing in all. By the way, this is my favorite. I've played all over the country. This is my favorite place to play golf, just
Hmm.
because it's like the air just seems to breathe better.
Yep.
There's visuals
Everything's better.
everywhere.
Yep.
It's nice.
Even if you're playing horribly, the aesthetics are like,
It's 65 pretty much year round.
yeah.
I mean, it's the same temperature you got there in February as it is in August. It's really la la land. I
What's your
think.
favorite hole at Pebble?
Good question.
Because
You
there's
know,
such a variety. I mean, you got seven, which
yeah. I mean,
100
I when I
plays like
played,
100 yards, and
I
then
probably played that on the simulator the most. I would start at seven. It's a little anticlimactic till you get to seven, but seven through, there's a
yeah.
8 hole stretch there that is just the best in the world. 18's really cool. I would imagine if you're asking, a favorite hole sits at Cypress Point, which is right next
Hmm.
door. But if you're
What
playing
a drive.
18,
Yeah.
yeah, what a drive. If you're playing 18 at Pebble and you're playing with fans there, because people were out there watching from the lodge and we were playing, which was cool. But
Having a little
yeah,
lunch.
I
Yeah.
would think I would think if you were playing golf, 18 is just really cool finishing hole coming up. And I like par fives. There's risk reward there. I could if you got a wind blowing out, a north wind blowing towards the water. I mean, I could see where you would want to go up to the right. When you're watching the event this week, there was a house midway through the course that, due to zoning and a few other things, they had trees that were blocking their view. I mean, there were thick trees, couldn't see hardly any of the ocean or the course. They had petitioned to have one of them cut down that was dead for a while. Storm comes through, never had a storm remove trees, takes down these trees. Their house goes from 11 million to 42 million, and they sold
Wow.
it like that. Just yeah, the cypress trees. So I think fantastic place. Spyglass Hill is awesome. There's no predator animals there, so when you walk down the golf course, animals are everywhere. They're
Yeah.
not afraid of humans, and I think Spyglass is probably as good of a golf course as Pebble. It's just not sitting in that same area. But yeah, I mean, Scott, how do you bet against Scottie Scheffler, especially after that last bogey-free round? Him losing, knowing he was pretty close. I would like to say that that's probably would be my pick. Shane Lowry would be my sleeper this week.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see where the conditions, right, would fit him pretty well. Rory, how does he respond?
I would say this from a golfer's perspective, it's an outrageously expensive round of golf to play out there if you're paying for it. But shocking thing is they play 50,000 rounds.
mhm.
And for that to be the case, I mean, the turf is great. They do a great job of that. It's shocking to me that there are that many rounds played at that dollar amount.
You can pretty much on a lot of days just show up in that pro shop, and if you want to get on, they can get you on as a single now. You're not going to
Yeah.
show up with four of the boys and just roll right up to the first tee, but they have spots a lot of days. If you want to drop the grand or whatever it is,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it comes out caddy and everything. If you
It's not a
take it
grand.
all in, it's going to be a grand, right?
Yeah, and you can play probably the hidden gem of all in golf is at Pacific Grove, which is the Muni right around the corner for
Poor man's
68
pebble.
bucks.
Poor man's pebble.
$68
Yeah,
all on the water. It's insanely
beautiful.
good. Yeah. So I would save the 795 plus 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 plus. But they're the whole area is littered with great golf courses. It's
Absolutely
fantastic.
is. What about some guys based on maybe Scottsdale, and La Jolla and some of these lead ups to this week that that you could see maybe an understanding it is a limited field. So what, 80 players this week? Or is that 50,
Uh,
50, right?
well,
I think
no,
it's 80.
it's 80.
It's
Yeah, because
80.
it's like 70, and then they give themselves 10 sponsors or handpicks, basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So some guys maybe other than Scotty, and you mentioned some of them, but even another flyer or two that you might look at this week.
I mean, I'd say Russell Henley, Patrick Cantlay.
Mhm.
Um, Cantlay does well on short courses. Henley can putt, and usually that translates to putt. You can really putt anywhere. Good putters can putt on all surfaces. Bad putters can only putt on the surface that they like. Forever you would see so and so can really putt well, but he only putts well on Bermuda grass, right? And you hear that occasionally from time to time. But those guys, he has beaten the. I was reading this earlier. Scotty or Patrick Cantlay has beaten the field scoring average in 18 of the last 19 of the top three short courses on tour, and there's only two other players, which is interesting to see, that are ahead of him in that sort of stat. Scotty and JT. So
Signature event, so no Brooks this week. He
no,
doesn't have to
no
worry about that.
Brooks.
Doesn't have to worry about that pesky POA. He didn't like it so much, I don't think, in La Jolla. Really, though, the putting for Brooks, it's still an
Terrible.
issue. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, he switched to a shocking first time he'd ever played with a non
So
Scotty, and missed the cut. But I won't be shocked to see it. I would say some of that stuff will stay around. That's a pretty big switch because I've actually had both of those putters, and you're putting with a milled face to an insert, not the place on a PGA Tour where you get out on the greens that are 13 and a half and fast, and you're just coming back, fans are yelling, and you're unsure of your putting stroke. I think we'll see Brooks really dialed in. He'll find his putting stroke by the time the majors come around.
seems to
For
do that,
any
doesn't it?
for the people at ESPN that know nothing about golf, obviously, that did the whole Brooks cast last week or whatever. I mean, he's just not going to be a factor in regular events. I don't.
Yeah.
This is a warm up period for him.
So that process, when you got a guy that's been with a specific putter or club or manufacturer for so long, and there's going to be a change, you've been around this for years. How does that work? I mean, what do you envision Kepka sort of working through right now and trying to find something that works for him? Can it be as simple as picking up one or two options and going with one of those, or is it bring out the barrel? Let's get them all out. Let's empty the trailer and try to see what we can get that works.
Yeah, so I'll give you two things. One, the Tiger Woods story before he won the Masters in 2019. Matt Killen's his putting coach, who's JT's full swing coach, Bud Colley's full swing coach. He's got a great gig going. Matt Killen does. So Matt and I have a mutual friend, and um, he couldn't get out that he was his coach. Tiger made him sign an NDA. Didn't want the pressure on him. Didn't want the pressure. He wouldn't want anybody asking him. So he has him go over to his house. He's all lost. He tells him that he's like, first thing that happens when I get to his house is Tiger Woods tells me he's lost.
Wow.
He's like, I'm here because the Thomases have plugged me. They think that I could probably help him. So we get out there. He's got 100 putters, and he's got the trusty putter over here. And he said he's wanting to go through everything and tell me about. He's a golf nerd, about all the other putters and what they do and what. And he said, "Which putter is it that you've won?" He said, "I played dumb. Now, which putter is it that you've won? Was how many terms? Was it 6 term or 8?" And he was like, he corrected me pretty quickly. It was, 13 or whatever. The point, it was 12 because the one with the other ones, 12 majors here. And he starts talking about this affinity for this putter. He said, "I just warming them up." And he said, "So after that, I go grab the 99 other putters and I take them and put them in a barrel and said, we're gonna start with this one. How about that?" And he was
Yeah.
like, his eyes lit up. And the next thing, the rest is history. He
Right.
wins the Masters. He's like, he just needed someone. I think a lot of times in putting, like I was
It's mental,
around.
right?
Yes, Ossie Rollinson was the guy at Callaway that ran Odyssey when I was there. He's now Scottie's right hand guy at Titleist. They hired him away after a non compete was up, and got to know him well. It's what they see, and especially now, it's even more so when you have a lot more strokes and grips that are in play. You have, it used to be, as you know, like you and I, even growing up, guys only putted conventionally.
Hmm.
You would see occasional sides, whatever, someone doing something unique. Then the brooms came in, and then bellies came in, they got outlawed, arm lock and stuff. Like people try every edge.
Hmm.
So I think for Brooks, it's probably, mallets have a lot more forgiveness than blades, and you're seeing so many more of them out there. I think that's probably what he switched to. Blades, most think you should start putting with a blade. If you're learning to play golf, you learn the flow of how a putter goes, but quickly as you're progressing into a mallet, it is a cheat code. So I think he's probably trying to figure out, you know, on an arc, right? The more
Hmm.
toe hang you have, or a blade putter is going to round sweep this way and round. And then when you get to a mallet, it's going to, keep the putter straight through, more straight back, straight through. So it's trying to identify and match up what his stroke path is with the putter. He's had that other putter for so long that
Hmm.
probably advanced putting fitting was not where it is today. I mean, now it is so advanced. The problem is in putting, can you get up there and make yourself, make it repeatable after you get out of this fitting? Because it is the most peculiar thing. Your eyes have to be over the ball, and then that affects your stroke and how you're gripping it. A lot of times with someone like him that's struggling, they either can't read the greens, number one, or they got the wrong putter. And, to match it up. Or it just could be a combination of both, which is no good.
Yeah.
Um, which is no good at all. So I'm sure he's trying to figure out. It sounds like a drawing board. It's very obvious that he went with the TaylorMade. I mean, he's back on the PGA Tour, best player in the whole PGA Tour, is using one. He
Yeah.
looks over. Justin Rose has won Farmers Mallet, right?
Hmm.
You don't have to look far to see how. And then when you go to the putting to the tour events they have on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the brands are there with their tour bags. If you go now, when I first got in the business, it was probably 10% mallet. Now it's probably 80 to 90% mallet.
Wow.
So I'm sure in his mind, he's like, I've got to get out of this blade. I'm already struggling. Doesn't have as much forgiveness, yet maybe my trusty putter, but he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't look like. I will say this: he did make some birdies at Farmers when he got
Hmm.
into position, but he was hitting it way better than he was putting it, and then it got really bad at Waste Management. So I would be shocked to see him not in a. He's with Srixon.
Hmm.
He's not going to play a Cleveland putter. He's got an out there. He only has to play their irons and their ball.
That's his
Uh,
deal.
yeah, so he doesn't. I mean, I think he's got a wood thing in there, but I don't. I think he skips that. It's a club. It's a number of clubs. So he'll just play irons through wedges and his ball. And that's really one of him in the ball. So his woods and his putter are sort of free game, and he's using a like you've talked about last week, like vintage Nike 2 iron or 3 iron,
Hmm.
and he's playing an old TaylorMade fairway wood from his what he used to game, playing a Titleist driver, and he was from that Titleist putter, the Scottie Cameron putter. So it will be interesting to see his next out will be he'll be at Palm Beach,
Hmm.
cognizant because he's not going to get to play this week or next week. That's
He'll
a
be
pretty.
comfortable down there, though. I
That'd
mean,
be
that's
pretty.
his neck. That's his backyard, right?
And it usually plays tougher. And I
Hmm.
think the harder the golf course, the better it is for him.
Bermuda'd
Yeah,
up too.
yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
Bermuda. He's a Florida boy. I would think that I mean, you look at it from where he paid the $5 million fine. It still had to pay it, even though you get to write it off. Missing missing these events in today's PGA Tour is a big time hit
Hmm.
as well. I mean, that's a
It
punch in the
is.
gut.
That is. Now we talk about putters and how they're trendish, certainly from time to time. Seems like from a retail perspective, lab is ultra popular, but it doesn't seem like we see much of it on the PGA Tour. Is that reality? I don't see many lab putters out on tour. Is it perceived by the players maybe to still be a little too hacky-ish? I don't know. What's your
I
thoughts on it?
mean, no, I've got one actually.
I don't
That
have one, but everyone I know that has one seems to putt well.
Yeah, I mean right. It's what's unique about the lab putter is I don't because the way the putter sits, you can't just go get it re-gripped because the grip,
Right.
the way the technology works to keep it square. So there's not an abundance of grips, and if you're ever holding a lab, you'll understand what I mean. They're not just a traditional grip. So and out there they've got ways to obviously overcome that. JJ Spawn won the U.S. Open with
True.
one.
Yeah. Major
Lucas
bomb.
Glover and Adam Scott really, they didn't. Adam Scott last year played pretty good, but Lucas Glover 24 played really well, and that's who sort of got Lab out there. I
He went
think
broom. He went broom too, though, didn't he? Didn't
both
Lucas?
both of
He
those are
went.
brooms.
He went
Yeah,
broom lab. Wow.
and
Yeah.
I think I mean
Well, he had the
JJ
straight
Spawn
up
can.
yips. Yeah.
He had the yes. JJ Spawn's a phenomenal putter, and that I mean looks like itself to me. He won't made that big putt to win, but yeah, you don't see it quite as much, and some of that I think is because of a lot of them have a 13th club or 10 club deal, 11 club deal, 14 club deal,
Mhm.
and I think the underlying factor is they feel like they could get a mallet Scottie Cameron or a mallet um, Spider, or an Odyssey. One of
Well,
those
you're
three.
seeing that Odyssey has a knockoff lab right now.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
Odyssey's got one, TaylorMade's got one,
yeah.
and Titleist. So they all three have the knockoff lab. It's different, but I think that they're going to be more apt to their 3 woods. Are they
Right.
really their driver or 3 wood? You're going to have if they don't like that, they'll play that and something else, and their wedges. I think that they probably are there with. They're just not gonna go take a non out,
Yeah.
a lab out. I think for the retail market, I will say this: not that this lab makes you putt your putting stroke better, but for whatever it is, definitely a game of misses and the ability to square this thing up,
Yeah.
even when like I made a bad stroke and it comes in and like holy
Mhm.
crap, I'm not becoming a better putter in my mind, like as far as mechanics, but I am scoring better.
Well, the spider, I get that feel with it. Like it'll kind of take care of itself if I don't choke it to death, right? I
Right.
think grip pressure a lot of times, not to get too nerdy on it, but I think that goes back to a lot of the issues more than anything. Anxiety, which of course goes back to
What does
nothing.
Henrik Stenson say? You want to hold it like you've got a baby bird in
Yeah,
your hand.
yeah.
You're not going to let it go, but B, you're not going to squeeze it.
You know who's still rolling the rock though? Is that Patrick Reed, man? The apparelless Patrick Reed still at this point. You don't want to see Patrick Reed on a Sunday right now in that off the
No,
rack Under Armour black dry fit, do you?
no, he's on one, and boy, he's vibing and thriving. His wife's back to taking shots to people on social media.
He's got time. Justine's
They're
got time. Yeah.
they're feeling good. He really is. Got. I mean, we've said this before. He's got a top. I think Phil and Tiger, you have to throw them in there. But over the last 20 years, he has a top three short game. And the guy is just a phenomenal putter, phenomenal chipper, phenomenal pitcher, phenomenal bunker player. If he's ever driving it well, it's really watch out because
Mhm.
those things are going to show up every time. He's gritty. He's not going to be rattled. He's the only player out there that's designed his irons that have won and stuck with him. He's using some artisan irons. Um, Second win in 3 weeks. Almost got to Turkey. Really could have won last week. Gets beat in the playoff. So it's 2 in 3 weeks, up to 17th in the official world golf
Saw
rankings,
that.
and locks up PGA Tour card for 2027. Which leads me to go, where do we see him next? Well, he's not in the field this week in Kenya, and then they have like Joburg, two events in South Africa. I would assume probably not there. And then it's China and India because they do, it's a pretty much a run of national opens as they call it, right?
Boy, India.
They,
Oof.
India and the China, India, then you have to come back to Augusta, which will be interesting to see if he does that. I mean, he's locked it up, so we may not see him, but that would mean if he didn't go play one of them, that would mean no golf until Augusta, which I don't.
Yeah, competitive golf
Be
for
hard to
sure.
it'd be hard. Yeah, right. It'd be
Well,
hard
and the
to.
thing about Reed is he'll show up any place, anytime. I mean, to your point, it would make perfect sense for him to be thinking along the lines of this might be a pretty big break. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see him show up at some of these events.
Well, I think he probably entered this week is probably a week. I bet he and their team they're all sitting down with Justine running the show.
She's got the
And
PowerPoint up. Yeah.
no, that's what happened at Callaway. I know that. She came in and they were like, "Whoa, I didn't know that she was the manager."
Oh,
So
really? So she comes in even with the
now
equipment,
this is before they've worked on themselves apparently,
right?
but the guy who's still out there with them, um, well they're both there. Guy's mentor, my EVP of tour there, Tim Reed, and Johnny Thompson, who's still out there. They're like, look, she comes in with her own iPad with the software
Wow,
downloaded from TrackMan on her own iPad
got the
and
numbers,
sits it right there by their stuff as they're fitting him. And they're like, he's striping it. The numbers are great. And
right?
she's asking us to do other things. And we're like,
I need
the
to get them
player
up.
is yeah, well, the player's great. He's happy. She wasn't happy. And said, we're like, we're not fitting her. And so they had to have some talks with him. They're like, she called a couple of times, like telling them she didn't like the head covers and the colors. And they're like, look, we're paying you. The suggestion box is open.
The bottom
But
line is the
I
bottom line.
right. I think that I think the issue for him as he started the season thinking he was going to play on live, all that
Yeah.
happened in, you know, full transition of him saying, I win, I can get my card back, PGA Tour. I'm seeing my world ranking go up where all you see at live is it slide, right? And so
Mhm.
he saw his world ranking go up. He saw his world ranking go up. He was out of live immediately, and they were smart to be free agents.
I
Um,
had no idea that he was like week to week
yeah, he
going
got
into
one
the
of
season.
those. He got one of those deals to go. He got a heavy bag up front. I heard 80 90 was his thing to get him to go, but it was a 30
Right?
30 30 type thing,
Wow.
which is a lot of money. And he would have been playing for more money over there at Live, but he's trying to get himself back to the tour. my thought is, what does the PGA Tour do? He really would be a shot in the arm for the PGA Tour. And if you go look at this week's event, I mean, JT's hurt, he's out, right? So another big name is out. That guy, what he does for would do right now after having won 2 times and coming back, I think he would give as much juice as Brooks, if not more. I mean, he's the sort of known villain,
Right.
also known as Captain America,
Somebody to root
right?
against. Yeah.
Somebody to root against, or somebody to root for. I think he's also proving that you're crazy if you leave me off. It's been a popularity contest. I
Yeah.
saw he's still using his Ryder Cup scorebook
Yeah.
from when he, the last one he played on, we won.
Yeah.
So I,
Oh,
you know,
I totally agree with that. I mean, I've said it before. I think there needs to be like a Notre Dame exception for Pat Reed
yeah,
where
I
the
mean, if you're
Ryder
not
Cup is
picking him,
concerned.
it's
27, 29, he ought to be automatic. Give him
yeah.
two
I mean,
more cups.
if you look at it this way, in 23 and you go backwards for 10 Ryder, 7 or 8 Ryder Cups, no matter what, you're picking Ian Poulter in that period.
Yeah.
And
Just
and,
like you
and
used to pick Monty back in the
yeah,
day,
you're
you
gonna
know?
pick. You're not. They just can't get over the popularity thing that ran through it, and then can't get over themselves. And I think bad captains and all that. He deserves to be on the team. He's one of the better. He's the best match play player, probably of the whole damn bunch.
I want him paired with Gotterup. Put those two together,
Oh,
you know?
that'd be tough
Yeah.
out right there.
Yeah,
Tough
put them
out.
together. Go ahead and do it. I'm ready for that. Hey, Steven, one of our viewers watching live here, Casey chimes in and says he has that Spider X putter. He loves it, but he did order a void putter. It's a no torque, but not ugly. Check it out. Void putters. That's a new one on me.
That's a new one on me.
All right, there you go. We learned something, even from our viewers. We appreciate it. Chime in if you'd like with some comments and questions. Certainly, Casey and myself will try to get to those as best as we can. You mentioned Liv getting those first official world golf ranking points. Maybe not a shocker that this young guy won because he's an absolute stick. But there was Elvis Smiley, his first live event, right? And he
Yeah.
comes out of the gate smoking.
Elvis Smiley, 23 years old, previously won on the DP World Tour. It was his fourth pro win. He won the Order of Merit in Australia in 24-25, the Australian PGA Order of Merit. Cam Smith mentored him for a while. He beats John Rahm in his first event out under the lights, which John Rahm drove the ball as well as I've maybe seen anyone drive the ball. He also, I caught the like, what the hell are we doing with this? I heard him say that on the. He pointed the
The
thing, looked at his
disco
cat.
par
He's like,
three.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna, I'm just gonna take my check, shut my mouth, and go on. You could see just shaking his head,
Yeah.
sort of semi smile, like, what are we doing here? But yeah, Elvis Smiley is an absolute stud, and he's one of those guys that where if you're gonna have a major and call it a major, um, I think going forward, somebody like him, he's got to be in the field. I mean, he's one of the best 100 players on earth for sure. He's one of the best 50 players on earth, probably 25. He's a superstar stud. I think you're going to only see him really go up. I mean, he wins in his debut over John Rahm by one. It tells
Mhm.
you a lot. He shot 66, 69, 65, 64. And his world golf ranking, this is where it opened my eyes. I thought that they were too far back to like for some of these players to really for it to make a difference. But Bryson and Rahm are ranked where Rahm's not. Rahm is the joke where he's at, but where Bryson is, and so if you're beating Bryson, you get these extra point credit and Neiman. So Smiley goes from 134 to 77. So now he's only, another win, he probably makes the Masters, which
Wow.
would be interesting to see if he won again in his home country of Australia, if he would shut it down. Because if you get to 50 or in that 50, you play, you're only hurting yourself. And then, if you really looked at John Rahm, he goes final round 63. He goes from 97 to 67. Obviously, not the 97th ranked player in the world. That's a little bit of a joke. And that's why one reason why they had to give him that. but he's at 67. He's obviously exempted everything. A couple more to discuss because the biggest mover was Sebastian Munoz, 767 to 566. Abe Answer, 616 to 449. And David Puig is the guy that is a top player in the world, and he's 97. He went from 95th to 87. But the one player who went backwards was the Thomas Dietrich's first round out at Live, goes 63 to 62 after a fourth place finish.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of like, I'm sure he got a welcome to moment for him because he's going to only slide. I think, if you finish 11th, you're out of it, right? But like even Ben On, he was 111 first event from defecting from the PGA Tour, and he went to 107. So I think what we see is maybe this is going to help them get some points to make some of these fields, to not make some of these fields, to make them better. I mean, we all just want the best players in the world in the most events possible. And that is going to be to really define and determine a major. We got to get the best players in the field, and we got to get some of these guys who started over there who have no world ranking points in them.
Yeah, the event last week with the nighttime play, and that's kind of cool, but it felt like the guy that is having the draft party, for the NBA draft or the NFL draft, and you got all the music and lights, and then you don't get drafted. I mean, that's what the vibe felt like.
That's good.
Like,
that's good.
Yeah, you don't get your name called. Nobody shows up. To really.
I'm shocked that that's where Live is based out of, and that's what you're going to put out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's because, you know what, we're going to make it dark because we're not going to let the other fans come, right?
There'll be a party this week though, won't there? When they go to Australia, Adelaide.
This is their biggest event.
This is their waste management too, kind of in terms of the crowd.
They copied that. They encourage the drinking. They don't. I mean, it's a.
You don't have to twist many arms over there. Down there.
Yeah, I mean, they're drinking it out of a shoe, which is even the weirder thing. But I think there's just not enough pro golf and a golf crazed Australia.
Yeah.
And I mean, it is their flagship event. I mean, Cam Smith. That's why he said one of the reasons why he wouldn't want to come back to the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And it gives Liv some sustainability vibes, I'm sure, to them. How do we do this and recreate this? But it's not like the jam bands who are not mainstream,
right?
To go that they had to go tour to make their money. You can't go tour enough to make the money that you're paying them. So you got to get it on television. They're showing more hours this year on Fox than they were last year, but I don't think the 72 holes helps them at all. It really helps them, I think, to be a 3-round event. I'm sure they'll continue to update that, but it'll be interesting to see what happens when Rahm and Bryson leave. What does Liv do?
Yeah. Cam professes his love for his home country and, that event. But, Cam also plays out at Glen Kernan Golf Country Club right up the street from where I sit right now here in Northeast Florida. I mean,
he lives in PV,
lives
right?
Lives off the Intercoastal Waterway about 5 miles from where I sit. So, that's interesting. For sure. Hey, did you catch the comments? I'm sure you did. Brandel with his comments about the players and how it stacks up with not only stacks up with majors, but in his opinion, the best of the majors, the fifth major, the players.
I had to go check to see if he won a players, which I knew he didn't. I won like the Milwaukee Open, his only win or whatever. But
hell MKE,
Charm
City, baby.
It was a very rich comment. I feel like that he's definitely. I'm like, that's what happens when you get paid to say something. I mean, no one's taking him serious. You can't really retro. You'd have to go back and say Cam Smith. He's won 2 majors. I mean, he's won 2 players, right?
Yeah.
You would have to go retro that.
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna give out majors, yeah, it's got an iconic course. It's got an iconic vibe and support. It's got a iconic field if the other players are playing in it. Now, if they want to go say, hey, we're going to take the top 10 players from outside of our tour to give, don't have to say live, but the top 10 players, and we're going to give out 10 sponsored invites. Okay, now we have that. But I think a fifth major at this time. I mean, what are you trying to do? You're trying to be the Champions Tour, you're trying to be the LPGA.
Yeah. No.
We got major. Yeah, there's already that if you go all the way back when you're
I
counting
mean, it's
majors,
hard enough to convince some people there's really four right now
right?
with the
There, four,
PGA.
four. The PGA's weakest, and I mean, and the Masters. The players, which they all want to win the Masters, but it's the
Mhm.
easiest one to win
It is
mathematically.
invitational, basically. Um, yeah, look, I grew up going to the players, right? I mean, I grew up in the Jacksonville area. It is the golf tournament of my formative years. We would pick the old Tour Bellata range balls and fill our pockets full of them when we were 10 or 11 years old, take them home, go out to Hyde Park Golf Club and figure out real quick we were not built to hit Bellata golf balls. But even I can't tell you with even a semi straight face that the players sniffs the British Open, the Open as it is called, the US Open, the Masters, even with the limited sort of field, and the PGA for that matter too. So, yeah, that was very interesting to say the least. And
I mean, the PGA
I'd
is the only
love to
one.
be able to put up an argument for my players, the players right here. And I can't
Yeah, I
really
mean,
do it.
so you go release it to the
Strength of field. I hear you and all that, but
you go release this to you say, all right, now it's a fifth major. Somebody comes along, or Scottie Scheffler, right? And he goes and wins five players championship or something crazy over the next 20 years, right? One out of every four. And he wins all this stuff. He breaks Jack Nicklaus's record.
mhm,
What are you gonna what are we gonna do then? Because
yeah,
you can't go back and give Tiger his players or Jack. Can't really go back. They weren't majors because the only and Brandel hinted at that. I'm like, you have to know it's a major when you're playing in the major to
yeah.
count as a major. Like, who else is
You
paying
you
you?
you know who counts them as likes to count them as majors or talk about them in the same vein of majors? Guys who haven't won majors,
That's good.
and or guys who have won one major. I've heard players that have won one major and a players um, be referred
Steve
to in an
Steve
interview,
Elkington.
yes,
He
as
thinks so, but
winner of a major championship. And I've heard a player pipe up and say, and a players. They're quick to get that in there. And again, I get it in terms of field strength and all those things, the notoriety of the golf course, the iconic nature of the golf course, especially on one particular hole, and a stretch
yep.
of three that are as good a closing stretch as any in golf. That's typically where I hear most of that, it seems like.
They need to, yeah. That's very well said. They should, if they really want to make it a major, even get close to even thinking about it, they need to go back to not softening the golf course, not soaking the golf course, and let the wind blow. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I that Sawgrass Country Club, some of those scores. If you go in that clubhouse and look at those scorecards, those
Yeah.
scores, there's a lot of over par scores.
With the technology back then too.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's really, really, really difficult, which made it more of a major feel.
Hmm.
This soft thing they've got going, it's not as difficult, and it brings in more of the field to make it not feel like a
They
major.
can't get it as fast though in March as they were able to in May, I don't think. I mean, they can do whatever they want, I'm sure. But just in terms of
I mean, it's
weather patterns and things like
The
that.
PGA Tour. It's what they've done with all of their courses they host tournaments at. They make them, you know, that one in particular is obviously in the best condition, but they make them more mundane than really they have to be. And I know that one you're taking in. I mean, those are $1,000 green fees
Yeah.
there. And so
The
some of
best
it
the
is
best
for
way
that.
to play the stadium course is on media day for players. That's the best way to play it. Or, if you just get an invite, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
media days were always good. But the thing about media day, Casey, is you go out there and you're grouped up with some other media folk, and we're all 15 handicap or higher. Okay. There's no sticks on media day usually. And you always will have that one person. They have the tees basically where they need to be for media people on media day. But there's that one person, no, I got to play it from back. And it's, no, you don't. You really
Can you
don't.
get in media day now?
I haven't tried. I might be able to, maybe. I maybe need to look into that. Maybe get some par 3 driver guy footage
I was about to say.
there on the
I would love
17th.
to see. That's why I
Cut
was asking.
driver from par 3 driver guy
That's
on
why I was
17.
asking. That would be so good.
Oh man. All right, Casey, it's been a lot of fun, my man.
Hey,
Anything else you want to throw in there?
we get one final thing, two things. I don't really, I'm a huge Bama fan. I hate to say it, but got to give credit where it's due. Auburn's Jackson Coven,
Oh my
just
gosh.
wow. I mean, PlayStation score, first time in college golf history to shoot someone to shoot back-to-back 62s. That's -10, which is nuts. And he was only leading by 2 at that point, but shoots a final round 67 to win by 5 in their opening college tournament. -25 for 3 rounds. Already the number 1 amateur in the world. And the next thing is Pat Perez. You got to give you this real quick. Um, he got on Subpar Golf's show and was telling about his.
Yeah.
And I messaged a friend, and they said he sends this message back. Love that, man. I responded with a telling thing of they asked what I thought about it, and his ruling. I'm like, it's just BS. I mean, the two most inept organizations right now, I feel like, are the NCAA and the PGA Tour. They have a lot of rules, and they never use common sense to enforce them, and they don't ever think about the
And
fan.
they're unevenly
They're
applied,
unevenly
enforced,
replied, and I said that. Just said I think it's BS.
selective enforcement.
His Champions Tour, a little bit of life support, needs a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
He was a media. I didn't know this. He was a media member last year on Live. He
Yeah.
never resigned to
Yep.
go over there, and by
And they
not
use that against him.
resigning, they've
Yeah.
used that against him to re-enter
A technicality.
playing. A technicality. He's like, I would have if I'd have
That
known.
they don't apply to everybody. It doesn't
Right.
seem.
Just but then they're telling him they want him back. You could see it's like, well, they're saying they want me back. He's going to get to play in 3
He could
of the
be kind of their
majors.
John Daly right now, except he could play all 3 rounds.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, he's got a personality. He's well liked, and he's like, I never had a problem. I never had a problem with the players listening to him and how it was described. Like, it's just rule. It's case by case. And I guess you're not putting up any fight. He's like, I've never had a year off, so I've had, I've never had any time off. This is great. Going to get to play in the 3 majors, and then I'll get to play.
I guess
the
for a guy
27
like
season.
that, if nothing else, he knows he has a path back, and so he's
no
going to
fine.
be.
He said no fine. He said no fine. There's no fine.
He's going to be
man.
very careful. I would
But
think.
I said to him was what he really liked was, if you're a lifetime winner on the lifetime member and whatever, there's a bunch of ways to earn lifetime membership. Very rare, very hard to get. Can you imagine those guys lost that lifetime membership?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I mean, just common sense. You earned that. It's not like you bought lifetime membership.
No.
I hopefully common sense will begin to prevail going forward.
We'll see. Once again, Casey, always a lot of fun.
You.
Appreciate you taking the time with us right here on Cart Golf on Ryder on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to Ryder on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right now. Hit that notification bell. That way you're alerted to all the content as it drops on the channel. And if you would hit us with a like, a thumbs up, that would help us out tremendously as well. For Casey Smith, I'm Travis Ryder. Thanks again for joining us. Until next time, so long, everybody.